God, I give thanks and the highest praise. Grandma said to Mama Earth, connect God to space.
Hello and welcome everyone. Welcome indeed. Thank you very, very much for joining. This is an extra stream, so if you found it, and plenty of people have already, I'm really, really chuffed because it wasn't heavily advertised. There's already a bunch of people again, which is it's really, really touching. Hello to Robarth, who was first in the chat for the second time, I think. Native VS, Keith in Watford. Who else have we got? Inverted Pope, Synth Addict, hello to you. Nice to chat to you today directly, which has been really, really good, and thanks for coming on. Sensian, hello there. Loads of people. Inky's in the chat. I didn't even ask Inky nicely to moderate, but if you are watching and you have time, not that I'm expecting anyone to get out of hand here, but Inky, if you wouldn't mind, everyone be nice to Inky, otherwise she'll kick you out. Jim Glue, David Serchek, hello sir, lovely to have you aboard. We're kind of here as a bit of an extra stream, which could turn into something more regular, I suppose, because it's very easy to do given that everything's still set up from yesterday. A very, very nice man called Tim Miller, who I will pop you on screen now. Welcome, Tim. How are you doing?
Hi. How you doing? Fantastic. Thank you.
Really
Glad
good
to be here.
A very nice man called Tim Miller, who is on the screen, got in touch with me via Facebook Messenger and said, can you tell us about the thing that you did for Clownfest 6, which was, in case you didn't spot it, it was actually like about a 4 or a 5 day online festival where each of the artists gets literally like a 20-minute slot. So it's really kind of good. So no one really gets carried away. And if someone comes on that you're not really that into, it only lasts for 20 minutes. Not saying that that's the whole point. That's a bit of a negative spin on it. But it does mean that it's constantly changing, and the positivity and the quality of the music has been outstanding. And I did like an unplugged, it was billed as an unplugged day. Because the time before, I mean, we're on Clownfest 6 now, the time before I sang a bit and stuff, I think people thought, well, maybe I could fill in a bit on the unplugged day. I actually ended up kind of programming a lot of stuff, so it was the least live thing that I'd ever done. But it did come out really well, in my opinion, and it went down really well with everyone watching. And Tim was asking me, do you fancy giving me, can you run me through how you did it? I'd love to. I love what you did, and I just want to know how you made the sounds. And because I've always found personally, I'm sure Tim's the same, if you can see the way someone's done something, get a look at the project file or whatever, then it's a really good learning experience. So I said, well, let's do a live stream, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, who cares really? And we'll probably see how it goes, but we might edit a kind of version of this as a cut down, or if it works, then absolutely fine. And if there's anything you want to know in the chat, literally fire in the questions, because it's not going to be as busy as in the chat as before with no Lula May quiz. She's actually swimming at the moment. So this is more of a musical stream. It probably won't be half as good. However, Tim, is that a kind of fair approximation of where we're at?
Outstandingly so, yes, indeed it is. Let me say, Mr. Wiggly, your set was amazing. It had classic elements of acid lines. It had the 4-voice progression in there. You had wonderful samples. The clarity, and I know you used your incinerator, it was just amazing on the whole piece. And so some of the questions, of course, I had is, what was the sound that started it for you when you began with your project on the Clownfest 6 set? And also the initial vocal sample. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. I think bang up your vocal a bit. The guys in the chat have said more voice for Tim, so you can really scream it if you want. I'll tell you what, let me fire off just the intro. It's 20 minutes long, so I'm not going to play you the whole set. I'll link the whole set from kind of elsewhere under here for afterwards. But if I run up like the intro and the main sort of lead sound bits, you'll get an idea of what's going on. So yes. Here's the set itself. And I must say, it's a press play kind of set, apart from in the middle where I play live and sing. And I didn't want to pretend that I was playing something I wasn't, so I kind of basically fall asleep through most of it. But this, I didn't want to be one of those press play DJs who's pretending to do all of this with my toes, if you see what I mean. So here we go. This is the set itself.
Lovely pads here. And you have a progression somewhat here already as well.
Yes.
But this wasn't the starting sound for you, though.
I think these were the chords that I kind of came up with. There's two sections to this tune, right?
He
There's
brings back to here and now.
this amazing
Feet on
vocal.
the floor, bottom of the chair. Just listen.
Which I'll tell you about in a second. Let's get our heads around this
Hear
just
the
for a
motor
second. And
cars
then we'll
on the
come back.
road. Look. Now they just by being present. Lo and behold, it opens up to this presence. It's this invisible, indivisible spiritual presence. Which is the threshold, you see. Open up into ever deeper understanding of what we may call God.
Okay, so that kind of sets the mood, and there's a whole bunch of stuff. If I whiz it forward a little bit, there's a main section. So this whole thing builds over this vocal sample. Tony Duncan, I'll tell you about that in a second, where that came from, because it kind of really sets the mood. The rest of it, there's a lot of VSTs and stuff going on. And there's a kind of main lift-off section as well, which is coming up now. So that's kind of the main hook of the whole tune, and then there's another section in the middle which we can look at, which is kind of me singing as well. So
Yes, I definitely want to talk about that.
right,
Already
yeah,
too,
yeah.
yes.
So that was my kind of thing. Well, I can't really just press play for the whole thing. You know, we can kind of do something that proves at least I can play. All right, so. Let's flip over to the Logic project and answer your questions. And like I say, anyone in the chat, if you want to have a crack, that's absolutely fine. I see that Optical Trance saying quite Massive Attack. Yeah, there's a section in there with a bass line that's really Massive Attack. I'll find it. We'll find it, but it has got that kind of tempo. So the whole thing's done in Logic, and if we zoom in on the beginning, honestly, if you don't know Logic, it really doesn't matter. They're all much the same. Ableton in kind of the view that's kind of the lateral view from left to right. You can see that there's this number of tracks going on the left. If I squelch everything up again, that's the whole thing. And these, there's some tracks at the top, if I've got the right version, which I can check, which I recorded my vocal live. So this track here, when I actually played live, everything came from playing from the Logic bit, apart from some live keyboards that I played over the top, and some vocals, and I just put those 2 tracks into record, so I'd have a record of it afterwards. So it kind of was a bit live, which is kind of cool. So we can look at those. However, the vocal is a guy called John Butler, and he is here, and he is an amazing guy. If I solo it,
Let me bring us back to here and now.
need to get some more volume out.
Let me bring us back to here and now.
There you go.
Feet on the floor, bottom on the chair. Just listen. Can you hear the motor cars on the road? Look.
And you've got it bang on.
Just by being present.
Electronic Sounds and Tony. That other vocal did come from Arcade, which is really cool. I'll tell you about that. And it was thanks to Tony Duncan that it happened, because I was chatting to Tony on the live stream on Sunday, and he was saying one of the best things that he'd been using recently was Arcade. And this vocal, sorry, not to confuse, this one isn't Arcade, but the one that goes like, ooh, ah, bah, bah, is an Arcade sample. So rather than jump around, so here. That vocal is straight out of Arcade, which is a subscription sample player, actually. And I was stuck for something. This was about 2 days before the show. This whole thing I did in a day and a half. And Arcade just gave me that vocal sound. So let's just have a quick recap on this vocal here. So this guy, John Butler, if you go onto YouTube and you look for John Butler, he is like a religious in a good way, preacher come thinker.
Yes,
And he
it was that right there after our discussion that we had on prior to the show.
Yes,
that got me motivated by just listening to him. I can't agree more with that. So
yeah, he is amazing. He looks like this guy. This is him. Hopefully,
I don't remember. Of course, I had a few farm animals, little toys and things at home, but when I went outside, I think I was just comfortable with whatever was there.
He's so inspiring. Hey, Rustic, thanks for joining. Tim's volume's still really low. Bang up your mic to the absolute max, so it's blasting them out. Make them say it's too loud.
Mic testing 1 2. All right.
So this guy is just a great thinker, and if you've ever seen the ASMR kind of sleepy stuff on Twitch, the kind of relaxing things, this guy's perfect for it. He does it naturally. So I found some stuff from him, and it was all about kind of relaxing and being in peace with yourself and knowing that this is the way that you should be, and to be true to yourself. And I literally put it in the track. I had to cut out a whole bunch of stuff because there was some background noises in there. But one thing about when I'm working is that you'll see that there's very few effects or anything going on. So I've used RX8 on this audio. Can you just turn your monitoring down a little bit, Tim, because there's a bit of an echo there. So, and I've got some Fab Filter on it as well, and that's it. So on every single track that I use, generally, I'll have a gain plug-in here. So the first thing will be, and normally that gain is set to nothing. Here I've turned it up, but I like to keep my faders all around 0. So if I want to adjust the kind of fundamental gain, I just put a gain plug-in in the top, because it's kind of OCD, but it keeps everything level. You'll find in all DAWs that the faders are more sensitive around the 0 point. So that they're really good for kind of fine tuning. But if you end up with a mix and your fader's down here, it's not as sensitive as it is up here. So you're much better putting a gain plugin in to turn everything down, and then turning this one right up to back up to the 0. But I really don't use many effects. So I've got an RX8. Let's just turn it off to see what it sounds like with the RX8. Turn that one off, and the Fab Filter multi-band compressor is also really useful. It's like an EQ, but you can tell it to compress up or compress or expand up or compress down certain frequencies. So rather than just cutting out the bass, for example, you can tell it to cut out the bass when the bass kicks in above a
It's
certain
like three
level.
different compressors in one right there.
Yeah, exactly. So I've just treated low, mid and high, and I've told it that the high's a bit too much, the low's a bit too much, but compress the mid left, the mid a bit less. The good thing is that if you've got a bass signal coming in this area, it won't touch it until it reaches this area here.
Nice.
So it's like you don't, with an EQ, if you turn the bass down, it's gone. If I speak quietly, I still got no bass. But with this, if you turn it down like that, you've still got bass until it gets too much, and then it just turns it down. It's a bit like literally if you're sitting there adjusting the bass control, so
The
you're just doing that every time it gets
Like
a
a
bit too
gate.
much.
To it.
So I don't know what it'll sound like without it. Let's have a look.
Let me bring us back to here and now. Feet on the floor.
Okay, so there's a load of
bottom
hiss.
the chair. Just listen.
So he was outside there was cars going past. So the RX filter to get rid of that. So that's isotope RX. If you turn this on, you'll lose the hiss.
Let me bring us back to here and now. Feet on the floor. Bottom of the chair.
Hopefully you can hear that. Loads of other things do that. Waves plugins do that. I think there's one built into Logic and Ableton. It just kind of scans the background noise and then removes it all. And then the compressor will just sort of brighten,
Let me bring us back to here and now.
boost everything. So
It brought
That's
that
all.
whole sample out,
Bottom
which
of
is
the chair.
Exactly.
beautiful in the whole mix.
Just listen.
And to be honest, I probably did more on the sound of this voice than anything else. There's also some automation on the levels here. So I went through, you can see hopefully the vocal kind of thing here.
Let me bring us back to here
This is the
and now.
volume, so it's pretty much the
Feet on
same.
the floor.
Bang,
Bottom of the chair.
down again,
Just listen.
down again.
Can you hear the motor cars on the road?
So when he's speaking quietly, I'm kind of using this as a compressor, if you like, and just turning it up. And that's probably more work than I've done on any other sounds in this entire thing. If you look at this, there's very little volume automation going on. In fact, there's none, apart from a fade out at the end on some bass. There's nothing going on here at all. A few little fade outs at the end. So John Butler's got some there, and that's it. And there's a little bit up here. So once I'd got that kind of set the mood for the whole track. Let's just take this down and show you the chords that were coming at the beginning. So
When you developed these chords, did you just do single chord by chord and then already write out the progression and knew what you were going to go to, or did you use a tool or an instrument to do that?
I kind of played it. So
Well, that's beautiful, yeah, because you have your two
Yeah,
outermost
sits there.
voices moving in contrary motion, and there's no parallel fifths in that. And I loved it. It was great to find out that was a good start. That was one of your starting points for the whole piece.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I let me just add another instrument channel here with like a piano or something on it. Hopefully it'll be loud enough. I don't know. I've got Lula May's camera here, but I don't know what it's pointing at. Oh, there you go. That's not bad.
Fabulous. There we go.
So, I mean, when you play piano, because I used to play a lot of live piano. Let me just angle this up a bit. Hang on. Might get me all in, just about. You do have your kind of favourite chords, so I'll always hit a C minor or something, and I'm lucky enough as a player to be able to go, oh, what chord shall I start? And kind of look in the air and go, okay, well, let's try with that as an opening chord or something. And this is probably something like that, or so I don't tend to use MIDI packs or chords or those kind of things. I'll just literally sit down at the piano, usually with a Rhodes sound like that, and just come up with those starting chords. And I know that's a league ahead of some others who may not be players, and you sort of take that for granted sometimes.
And you applied it extremely well here. You took some jazz and applied it here with this new feeling and with this current technology with stuff. It fit the genre so well with the whole scene with Clownfest and everybody else's sets.
Thank you.
It
That's
went
really kind.
very, very well with everybody's stuff on that day. I got to give credit to everybody. And big shout out also to everybody in chat. I'm following along, and I want to say hi, and I'm waving at you guys. All y'all's comments are great. Keep them up. So those were some great points that you had talked about. So the vocal sample, of course, the female vocals, A+, the piano loop, the hook line. Can you tell us a little more about where you found that? Did you have an idea in your mind when you heard it, when you started? Tell us about that process you came across when you finally thought about putting that line with that.
Sure. Well, I should say that I always leave everything to the last minute for stuff like this, because I find that however long I've got, I will use up that time. To the point of ridicule, if I've got 2 weeks, if I start 2 weeks before thinking, I'll make a start, I've got loads of time, I will be doing it and finishing off the night before. And I think Mark Piero, the Acid Clown, who runs Clownfest, is in the chat. I mean, he knows that I stream live, so I don't have to send him anything, because a lot of people film it and send it through. But every time I've had to send him through something, it's been on the morning of the thing. I'm an absolute nightmare, So I've kind of come up with this solution, which is to leave it until a couple of days before and then start, which is not good for your kind of stress levels, but it just means I get 2 weeks that I would automatically lose. So because of that, because it's all a little bit last minute, sometimes it doesn't work very well. Sometimes it gets really, really stressful. I think on one of the first Clownfests, my digital interface broke, and I ended up kind of doing it on the internal speaker on the Mac and something. It was absolutely crazy, but I did get it done. But it does mean I tend to work in a linear fashion. So I'll kind of say I have 20 minutes to fill, and I'd like to do, say, 3 tunes or 3 sections. And I'm thinking, so let's divide it into 3. So the intro for me is always absolutely vital, because it sets the mood for the whole thing. And I might spend at least as long on the intro that I do on the rest of the track. But it sets the mood for me as well as setting the mood for everybody else. So, it gives me the thing as to know what I need to be competing against. Because if I add something in during the song that knocks the mood down, I know I've done something wrong. Whereas if you have a really average, rough intro, anything will sound good. Do you know what I mean? So when you're working on any tune, to keep your objectivity is really vital, and it's impossible if you're just playing the same thing again and again. So you have to be absolutely super critical, and wander off, go to the loo, go to the kitchen, get some water or whatever, come back and go, is that really, really good? And literally every second kind of counts for me. I'm very much a perfectionist. So with here,
yes.
Carry on. Sorry, I'm talking a lot. No, jump in, because I'll talk forever.
I'm very much like that with the loops. I'll sit there and let something loop out, and I'll just start testing out other stuff and going around places and just toying with it, and then they'll be like, "What are you doing?" Like.
Gotcha. Oh, Tim holds the crown for the most sets sent in. Fantastic. Excellent. Really, hello everyone in the chat. It's brilliant that everyone's here. Thank you so much for a kind of almost an afterthought stream. It's really cool.
That's great. So that was key for me to just. I wanted to see really started it for you on here, and so that's a great point that you make. You start with that 4-voice harmony, and that gives a great feeling, vibe, and guidance, because the melody can start to dictate itself forward for you, and you can hear what's to come next, and then move forward from there.
Yeah.
Even though just a second ago you had no clue what was going to go. Here you go.
Yeah.
It's brilliant, absolutely great, and so that intro really led and built in perfectly. It didn't seem drawn out. The replayability here is just tremendous. The acid line that comes in towards the end of the part that we have first segmented here. That was I've listened to this over and over and over. It's that perfect classical TB303 line that you would get back in the day from like Head Candy or something like that. And and with the pad and the drums, and I was like, it's so clean, it's so simple, but it's perfect. It's moving, it's constantly going. And I said, that's it right there. There it is again. And I've been searching for that, and then I'm like, oh my God, he did this right there.
Oh, that's really kind of you. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, let's just break it down very, very kind of quickly and simply. So I quite often use kind of sound effects on intros as well. So I had city sounds here, and this is literally just the sound of the street. So I've got an awful lot of library of ambient noises and sounds because I did an app for sleep music a couple of years ago, which is done, really nicely, called Snuggle Sounds. And I built up this I recorded some, I got some from sound libraries, and they could be water, they could be streets, but streets like New York street sounds and stuff. Literally set up the whole thing really, really well. So underneath that pad and right at the beginning, I've just added that in. So this pad here, let's take the solo off. I'm going to lose the John Butler line for a bit. Let's put that
nice
back
atmosphere.
In, exactly.
The atmosphere is just brilliant.
It makes the I've called it Juno-ish, the line. It's an Omnisphere patch. So without it, it just becomes a really nice synth sound. With that, the Pet Shop Boys used it on West End Girls a lot. It sets the vibe really nicely. So this pad sound here is really important too, and it's Omnisphere. I use Omnisphere on loads and loads of stuff. There was a question earlier about how many real synths I used on this, and because I did it in a day and a half, pretty much none. I wish I could say that I used all the synths that were knocking around me. The sounds almost all came from VSTs, but I processed them externally or through something like the Incinerator plugin. So I've been doing that quite a lot. If I've got more time, I'll definitely use the synths. I mean, if I flip over to Lula May's camera for a second, I mean, there's a whole bunch of synths over there.
Wow. That's
and
amazing.
There's a lot of outboards behind me that, So what I tend to do is I'll send the audio out of the out of the Mac rather, and process it externally, and I'll fiddle with stuff and record it over along the whole of the track. But this is called Deep Blue Chords. It's an Omnisphere track, and I reckon I could do an entire track with Omnisphere.
We should
really
save that
easily.
for another video for a future we can discuss Omnisphere. That would be great.
Such a good thing.
Incorporating different things and doing stuff, and then I'm sure if there's others want to hear or see that, we'll get some.
Yeah. I mean, it's just the gift that keeps on giving. I've never used a pad. Yeah, that's true. I mean, everything starts with a pad for me. So that's what's making this kind of washy string sound. Let's go and see what else comes in. After that, I have a thing called Low Bloom, which comes in here. And guess what's making that sound? That's probably Omnisphere as well. With this one, what I've done is I've recorded it. So there's a mix of things going on here with the Juno-ish pad that I just played you, which is coming out of Omnisphere. That's still being run from MIDI. So it's literally
Juno, it's everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. I called it Juno-ish. It's not really Juno-ish, but that is a MIDI part. Okay, so here somewhere there should be some notes. There you go. So that's still saved as MIDI, and I can change the notes and everything. And I didn't take it out of the computer at all, so I didn't process it. It's literally coming live out of Omnisphere. Most of the other stuff you'll see has ended up as audio parts. So this thing called Low Bloom, which I'll open up and slide up, is now an audio part. So as I play it in solo, you should be able to hear. Where's the part? Here we go. That is an Omnisphere patch, but I've recorded it externally through some stuff, just so it sounds a bit warmer. It probably was a bit of EQ, and I have a thing over here called a rooster, which is a chicken. No, not really. It's let me just hang on. Let me see if I can do this. Put me in the whole screen. Right. This is a crazy rack. I'm so blessed to have this rack. But down here, there, it's called the Rooster 2.
Wow. Yes.
And it's
Look
a
at
Valve preamp. made by Thermionic Culture, and there's some other Thermionic stuff. So this is really, honestly, it's pretty top end kit.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
there's an old DP4, which is an Ensoniq thing. There's an original transient shaper. That's a Bricasti reverb. The Thermionic Culture, amazing compressors and EQs there. So there's an EQ called the Swift above it, and a tube core compressor there. So, and then above that, there's 2 API channels, and then the submixes. So everything goes through that, which is not your average. I appreciate that's not your average home studio.
No, that is amazing processing right there. Well, that just testament to what you do and a credit to your skills and things that you know is
as long as it works. Yeah, no, I decided to invest quite heavily rather than buying a big desk, because there's 2 ways to go really. You've got lots of keyboards around, and I thought, you get a big studio desk and all the rest of it. And I was watching people mostly move into the box, and I was thinking, well, the only thing you really need to do is get your stuff into the computer as amazingly sounding as possible. So I only really need 2 channels for that. If I had a most epic 2 channels in the world rather than 48 of them or whatever, I don't need an SSL or a Neve or a console or whatever like that. I could just spend a tenth of that money, still a chunk of money, but a tenth of that on 2 channels of excellence, and that's pretty much what I've got there. So even when I'm working on sounds that may be coming out of Omnisphere or Serum or whatever, I'll tend to route it out of the audio interface through those as if it was going into my mixing desk, and just warm it up and play with it, you know. And that was my logic, and it's been really good. I mean, it'd be nice. Don't get me wrong.
Points. I'm definitely going to be taking notes of all that and enjoying the new routing that I'm doing now, because with all audio, it is being processed now through my Dualflex.
Yes,
Pro,
that's what you need.
And I have an SCOM Plus stereo compressor limiter too as well. So I
brilliant.
And it's a dual thing, so it's not the 3. So I totally understand the 3, and I'm finding myself wanting to be able to. It's close, but it's not quite everything that I need. So I probably need to do some more work on this and kind of cleaning things up. So I believe with the incinerator, that's really all I need to incorporate into this setup like this. And there's going to be other people just like me, close with similar setups, that are wondering how we're going to get the incinerator incorporated into our hardware setups and systems. And we were talking about this a little bit, and you had some brilliant ideas, and we're going to talk on in just a moment. But back onto the track, because that's what we're talking about.
Yes, I digress. So when you well, I don't quite digress, because when you see something that was kind of a MIDI part or something, and it's been recorded, that's why it's been recorded, and it also forces you to commit as well. So I'm not messing around going, I could change that note later, or I could tweak the EQ that much. Cheers, Robar. Thanks for dialing in, and I love you guys too. So that's why. So let me quickly run through the other kind of basic sounds on the whole thing. Let me zoom in here a little bit. So we have this low bloom that comes in, and then we have a high bloom that fills it. So all I'm doing is reinforcing all these pads. So there's the high bloom. And I've got some Rhodes piano that comes in too. So there's just 3 tracks of warmth.
That Rhodes. That's what it was, the Rhodes. I was wondering if there was a specific on the organ sound that you used, that you chose through, because there's always a large variation and stuff on there. And was there if it was a preset, or did you dial it in?
On the Rhodes?
Yeah.
It's a Keyscape thing. I mean, to be honest, I used the one that I just bumped up earlier just to show you some chords, was the built-in one with Logic. Keyscape is made by the same people who make Omnisphere. It's so good. So they have a Rhodes LA Custom stereo phaser. And it's just...
And you're controlling it outside with your controller on there. Oh, that's brilliant.
So it's the icing on the cake, really. Doesn't do real pianos well, but it does electronic and you know, Yamaha style pianos in there. So literally with 3 tracks, I mean, you've got a lot of movement going on, and you've got those city sounds noises in the background and all the rest of it. And it's really just taking that and making it stronger. So if I look at the beats that are coming in, because that's, and obviously that
clear.
vocal.
I bet that was very clear for you, the beat after this point, after having all this flowing through you. It was very clear for you.
Yeah. Because I was trying to think of a tempo that would work. And when I played the original chords, on the Rhodes, it's like, well, it works at that kind of, dare I say, massive attacky speed, Protection or something like that, where it's sort of late 70s, 78, 79 BPM, something like that, which of course I had this idea I might double it and kick off into some crazy acidy, thing in the middle, which didn't actually come together in the end. So I did, because I kind of half wrote a song that fitted in the middle as well. So, but that was there in the back of my mind that I could flip it up to 144 BPM, because that's always where Piero the Acid Clown sets often end up. So I thought, well, at least that's kind of in the bank. But I have a whole bunch of splashes and lifters and risers and droppers and stuff that I've also got built up a kind of a big sample library of. And
that took some time there.
Yeah. If you check out F9, they make sample libraries. And Dean, Electronic Sounds Dean, who's maybe still in the chat here, honestly, his sample libraries and stuff are just epic.
Oh, yes, I have. By the way, Dean, yes, and I'm loving them too, especially for the Digitag on his packs.
It's just incredible. I mean, I got to know him through Facebook as well, and honestly, I didn't even realize he was making sound. And you listen to them; they're incredible. So there's some of those in here, and there's some F9 risers and lifters. So pretty much all of this I've just highlighted here are those kind of sounds. So let me just show you what's going on, because I think it makes like a massive difference when you, oh my word, my mouse is going crazy. When you've got, hold on. Right, there you go. When you've got kind of good chords going on, then let's just see. Then these kind of things that are coming in here, let me just solo them for you.
Nice timpani rise, and that cuts cleanly through the mix too.
Exactly, and I mean, these are just firing off all over the place, and so there's some more coming up here. And a lot of them are from techno packs, and they're kind of risers and droppers, or look on Splice or something, where they're trying to build up to big drops, but they're really, really effective if they're nice and subtle in the background. Crazy sounding bonkers stuff. There's some here, look, as well. So here, I don't know what section that is, but let's try and see what that is. Just so here it comes. And those things make a massive difference, an absolutely massive difference, because I mean, if you take them all out, you literally just get a little stop sound going on, so it becomes which is epic, but it's not as epic as having those in. They're tiny little touches.
No, it's not. Yes, it still had that very epic closing feeling at that point. But no, the risers and all these things are excellent points that you have.
They just lead you safely. And yeah, he's still in there. Hey Dean, if anyone's not spotted Electronic Sounds Audio, just Google Electronic Sounds and take a look at some of the sample packs and the patch packs that he does. They are literally incredible. And he was a drummer and is a drummer. Except he drums less these days, I think mainly due to a back injury, but he thinks like a drummer, and there's not so many drummers making patch libraries, drum sounds, and honestly it's the secret. I've given his secret away, not that it's a secret, but they are incredible.
Big shout out to you, Dean.
Yeah, massive. So that's that whole section, apart from the big hook, or what I like to think is the big hook, which is this sound that comes in here. Let's do this bit, which is a kind of lift your head off, that peak, I suppose, of the whole track. and that was an accidental discovery, really. Again, you can see the stuff that I've got.
Happy accidents are the best. Tell us more.
Yeah,
about that.
exactly. Again, just while I'm here, you can see all I've got is the glue on here. The glue is the compressor that comes free with Ableton, but I paid $100 for it ages and ages ago, before Ableton licensed it, and it's such a good compressor for everything. So just use that if you're using Ableton, especially for sidechain as well, which is pretty much, I think, what this is doing. Yeah, this is a side chain going on. So again, if I solo it just quickly, if I turn it up, that's side chaining against the kick drum. So if you have the glue, which is the Ableton one, literally just go find the preset wherever it is. Oh, it's on here, isn't it? It's a sidechain pump. It's even easy for you to find, external sidechain pump, and then just turn it up to the level that you need. And it's, you put whatever you're sidechaining against, which I've just flicked off accidentally here, onto the sidechain input, or the yeah, exactly, and you're off. So now I've killed the sidechain input, but it doesn't matter because I've already recorded it, so it's fine. So this is now an audio recording, which again went through some external and incinerator as well, but it came from a synth. Let me just look up what's going on. So if I open a software instrument, there's quite a lot of stuff going on that I've got here as external plugins. These are the main ones, but this one came from Avenger, which is a VPS one. So they've got Avenger and Phalanx. Avenger's a synth version, and Phalanx is the drum machine. So if you look up VPS, it's Vengeance Synths. It's a Vengeance plugin. And I've got some plugins here for it. In fact, Dean from Electronic Sounds made the trance pack for this. So it shows you how good he is.
And a reason.
Yeah, yeah, quite. And it was a tweaked preset from one of these. I can't remember, but it was. I was just kind of finding it. So it has these kind of samples in there. It's an amazing box of tricks. So you can hear kind of where they're coming from. Yeah, exactly. So what it was one of those sounds. I changed the arpeggio to fit the track because I had in my head the kind of thing that I wanted it to play. But there was very little other effect going on apart from some warming it up. You know, and it wasn't that sound, but there's a whole bunch of things like that. So that was the killer. And then once that fell into place, honestly, the rest of it was pretty easy, to be honest. And once I had that as the kind of lift-off point, you know, hear the difference without the sidechain pumping properly. I must remember not to save this. And then really it was just about arranging that whole first section. So, I mean, I won't play it all to you, but it was just, check it out on YouTube. I'll put the link in underneath it. But it's just that and the beats, I suppose. So I'll quickly touch on the beats if you want.
Of course.
We
the drums, of course, feeling great. You know what pops into my mind right now? Is there a variation of the intros or anything that didn't make it to the end? Is there something that we are missing?
Probably deleted it. Let's have a look. Maybe. I normally chuck everything I don't use down to the bottom, but none of it's muted down here, apart from something called Spare Omni. So what have we got down here? Okay, so that's the basic loop that I was using, which is still MIDI, and it's coming out of something I really rate, actually. Let me just pause it for a second once it's opened. It's Evolution, which is a contact library, and it's kind of like it was kind of billed as an old school drum machine thing. Hey Jen, thanks for joining. and it's been recorded with 3 levels. So you have, it says Evolution Tape 1 here. You get Evolution Tape 1, Tape 2 and Tape 3. And they're basically extended forms of tape distortion. So they've taken each sample that they've used and they've processed it through the 3 kind of different levels. And this one doesn't even have Incinerator on it because, to be honest, it's already got that kind of warm tape on it. So this is just literally a pattern that I programmed live into that gives the bottom end kind of bottom end thing, and you can hear it's actually quite distorted as it stands as well, which is partly because I got it turned up for the show. But let's turn that down a little bit. Yeah. We've got, I think, basically because I messed up the big hook and turned it up, we've kind of killed
as long as you don't just overwrite
exactly.
the file,
Exactly.
You should have it already saved.
Yeah. There's a backup, and then the other sort of stuff that I've got is these, which I think probably have my favourite percussion stuff going on. Yes, my other trick is to use real percussion wherever possible, just in the background over the top. And it dates back to when I was doing productions, pop productions, kind of in the 90s and the early 2000s. When we were doing remixes especially, we used to get an amazing percussion player called Louis Jardine in. And he's the guy that worked with Trevor Horn a lot on things like Slave to the Rhythm. Pretty much everything Trevor Horn's ever done, when you hear amazing percussion on it, it's Louis. It's like his best mate.
Wow.
And we used to use the record company budgets as an excuse to get Louis in. Because not only could he make anything we do sound amazing, because it was the sound of real percussion is just incredible, but also he had the best stories in the music business, and so we used to just record this stuff, and then he'd tell us what it was like working with Trevor and all these people that he'd worked with in the past. It was absolutely brilliant. But what he used to have is he's still around. He had a roadie, and these flight cases of stuff. I've never seen so much stuff. I mean, I used to think I had a lot of stuff bringing keyboards and stuff in, and drummers, obviously they've got piles of stuff to bring in, but this guy would have literally flight cases full of the most obscure looking percussion instruments that you'd ever seen, and he'd sort of listen to the track and go right, and he'd rumble through flight case 4 and pull this thing out and then be shaking it. And honestly, really crazy stuff. So to that end, there is, I wonder if I've recorded it or if it's still
yes, that
on
would be
there.
awesome.
Because I've got this plug-in. I think these are recorded now. Let's have a look. Yeah, these are all bounced. Let me find where I got them from, because basically it makes a massive difference. I've got a pillbox shaking, and these are all panned nicely as well. And they don't have to be loud, and they don't have to be super trebly. I mean, this is literally someone shaking a pillbox. And don't get me wrong, it's not me. I've been using samples to do this. There's a triangle.
But the panning was key.
Yeah, and it fills the space, So you wouldn't expect, okay, I've got a bloke in the corner shaking a pillbox. I've got a guy banging a triangle. I've got a standard shaker. I've got a brass tambourine on the beat. And I've got a clear shaker, which is, there. So all together, and this is in the busiest part of the song, they're not going all the way through, you've built up this kind of nice, warm, moving kind of thing, so that when you drop everything in, just at the end when it stops, if I lose that big hook for a second.
We're getting remixes of it already right now. That's brilliant.
And it makes a massive difference to me. And I think people miss a trick sometimes because they go, right, I'm going to put a hi-hat on there. It breaks all the rules of only using 5 instruments. Yes, exactly that. Well, Louis played on that stuff. I mean, pretty much anything like that sounds... It's the closest I can get to Louis without having a Louis, because we don't have the record label budgets anymore. But I'll show you where it came from, because it's a really neat little library. If I put in here, it's called Shimmer and Shake. And I think it's a contact library. So it's a whiz down, what is it? Native Instruments, isn't it? Contact.
Make sure you hit like and subscribe and share.
Yeah, do it. Where are we? Here we go. So down near the bottom, there's Evolution. That's the drum machine I showed you. And above that is this Shimmer, Shake, Strike, it's called. So let's show you that.
A little bit of audio there. Okay.
Yeah, lovely. Sounds great.
I didn't have it. I didn't want to bring it up too loud. I was just checking it, make sure it was all going still.
So you have 3 percussion players, with this one set to clear, shaker, brass, and shaker, which uncannily sounds like what I used actually. And you can, depending on what the key you play, you can cut certain ones out, have them play different kind of things. But there's a huge library of different percussion bits that you can load up from.
Oh, wow.
So the shimmer is the tamburini stuff, the shaker is the shaker stuff, and the strike is the cowbells and all that.
So nice. It's better than some word, and you're like, well, what's the difference when you can actually see the size and different things? Yeah, that's brilliant.
And they're recorded really, really well, and really simple stuff like there's a double speed and a half speed. It's got all of the weird and wonderful time signatures, triplets and all that kind of stuff. And it really takes all the hassle out of it. So that's how I built that up. And to me, what makes this, obviously there's a couple of really neat things on this. There's a really good vocal sample. There's 2 really good vocal samples. Actually, there's a girl, which I'll show you in a minute. There's the main sort of synth riff. And there's these kind of swooshy, wonderful uppers and downers. And then these amazing little kind of percussion-y bits. And together they make such a difference. And it turns it into a kind of a depth, really, I guess. I think I'm talking. I'm talking Dean's really language here.
Yes.
So
I'm trying to keep up with everything that's going on, following you on here.
It's mad, isn't it? It's nice not to have to watch the chat that much, actually, and just talk for ages. I hope I'm not boring anyone. But the other thing is obviously the vocal hook, which I need to find, which is from Output. But I think I've bounced it, so let's have a look. Where is it?
We're going to get to your vocal lines.
Yeah. That would be cool. That would be cool. Hold on. So she's somewhere. Here we go. All right. So this is recorded. What's up?
Somebody said stream gone. Uh-oh.
I think we're okay.
I think we're okay.
We're still live. Give us a thumbs up if we're still live. I hope we are. We're going to have to disappear pretty soon, but it's got no.
We've already hit 1 hour. We haven't even got a chance to get to your
lyrics.
It's
fine. Yeah. No worries. But I do appreciate that Inky's going to have to disappear in a second. What we'll do is potentially we'll carry on and we'll just edit another version that people can catch up on the second half, because I don't want to.
You do a part 2.
Crunch in. Yeah, do a part 2.
We can do a part 2. We
want to crunch into
back in another week
Inky.
on the following Monday.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Should we do that?
Everybody, y'all think it'd be great?
Because basically, I think Inky, you've got to disappear, right? And it's time for the stream through.
We'll do another 50-minute, maybe an hour talk.
Inky says she's fine for an hour. Have we got an hour? This is going to be amazing if you're fine for an hour. Oh, well, let's just carry on. Inky, tell us what you want to do, because I'm very happy to stop. I don't want to crunch into anyone else's stream. We'll just wait while Inky tells us. Inky's in control, so you tell us what you want to do. Yes, so this vocal, as you can see, it's been recorded now. So it's literally just a kind of simple loop, which I will show you, which is here. Let's just drag this back.
Yes. That whole sample, though, I'm curious. You have a segment there highlighted of the sample for the loop. What is the whole sample?
Let's see. I think I can always never forget how this works. Hold on. Why is that? It should be playing, to be honest. Let's see. Hang on.
The lock might still be on because of that bar at the bottom.
Hold on. Okay. So to play this bit, what do? I think I play this one.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's a long one.
I think what I did was I recorded the whole thing down for several sections, and then I chopped them out and started rearranging stuff. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Hardware James is okay. It's not on till a little bit later. So that's really cool. Thank you for that.
Fantastic. Oh, wow. You can... even with the reverse on some of those samples, like with the 404 on something.
Yeah. So that's basically the 4 sections. So you've got the stretched out one here, and then in the link into the breakdown, you've got... which works really well, but it doesn't sound like it sounds, if you see what I mean.
Yes.
Hey, Zafin, how you doing? And then you've got the main hook there.
Brilliant. That was a brilliant section that you chose out of there for the part of your piece. It fit the song excellent. Very. I mean, I'm losing words to describe it. I'm resorting to generic.
So that is from Output. So if no one's come across Output before, and to be honest, it's the first time I've used it in anger or with a vengeance on anything. So it's what's it called? It's here. It's made by Output and it's called Arcade. So it's really a sample player. It's kind of cheating in some ways. They've raised an awful lot of money, and I'm slightly worried that they've raised too much money. I'm slightly worried they might turn into another Rolly, but that's another story. It's a monthly subscription, but they're releasing tons and tons and tons of new packs. Jen's saying that she loves it as well. It's brilliant. And although it's a sample player, they have some really neat algorithms that allow you to kind of twist the sounds in the way that you heard that backward stuff going on and all that. It's got a really nice interface. So in there, all of these are packs that you can do. So here's a heavily processed vocal pack.
You get royalty-free samples.
Yeah, absolutely,
Great.
absolutely. So, and in here, look, for example, there's something called Way Down. So I can preview it, and then I can load it, and then here across the keyboard. So while the sample is playing, I can hold a black key to kind of modify it. It's really cool. Yeah. And it's it does take it made it really easy, because I can't say, I came up with this amazing vocal sample. I can say I came up with this really amazing lead synth line, because I did, but I really can't claim credit for that vocal sounding, apart from the fact I arranged it. Do you know what I mean? I mean, that's one thing, but honestly, everything you press on this kind of stuff is brilliant. And you have controls. I can't really do it with 3 hands at once, but you have controls over the reverb, the way the whole thing's there. There's a hype. Anything with a hype control is good in my book, to be honest. Some really good delays on there. And like I say, I don't know if you can see, I'm pressing the black keys.
Yes.
So the whole thing is cool. It's a shame that it's a subscription service, but I have to say they are really living up to their reputation and just launching so many new things all the time. So it's not like you subscribe. I mean, I think the Roland Cloud actually is a good subscription to have, because they're excellent, but it's not like you subscribe and you're going to run out of stuff. Certainly at the moment, they're just putting out tons and tons and tons of stuff. So all this stuff here that's come out is new. I don't know what Dream Team is. Let's just check it out. So for me, when I was kind of lost looking for a final icing on the cake for the intro, because originally I thought that vocal sample that I had from the guy, the amazing sound, would be enough. And I couldn't quite find anything that just sat on the top that didn't kind of go, I'm a lead sound. Do you know what I mean? Look at me. Okay, I just wanted something that fitted, but was the thing that you'd be humming, if you like. And it's all in here. So let's have a look.
Can you feel it? Can you feel it? I will never hurt you.
Interesting.
It's madness, isn't it? And it's thanks to Tony Duncan. So
And then you can select a key signature too as well. Wow.
yeah, oh yeah. It syncs to your DAW. So if you're looking for that quirky thing, to be honest, I've subscribed a little while ago, and I was looking for keyboard sounds and some drum sounds and stuff like that, and then I didn't find anything that I wanted. I was trying to make it do stuff like the Shimmer and Shake was doing, with
Really,
some
with all those
percussion and
keyboards
stuff.
around you.
Yeah, I was trying to make it do stuff that I already had, because I was like, I'll put some percussion on. I know, let's try output to get some percussion. And it didn't do what I expected, and I didn't use it. And then when I was chatting to Tony on the Sunday stream when he came on, and he was saying, yeah, just look at it at kind of, look at it for embellishments and the icing on the cake and the leads and the interesting sounds. And I thought, yeah, that's actually what it's meant for, right? There's this thing I keep banging on about, which I failed to do on this track, but really you only need 5 sounds going on. All of the modern productions now, Rick Rubin's kind of never have more than 5 sounds going on at one time. So if you've got a kick, a hat, a bass, a vocal, then there's only room for one more thing to fire off at that moment in time, and it's very true on today's productions that's the way it's working, and it's good at making those sounds. It's good at making that one kind of knock you out embellishment sound. So there's another tip. I think they do a trial. It's worth it for a trial. I get everyone's aversion to signing up for monthly stuff. I'd say the 2 things I've got that do that, Roland Cloud and this, are definitely worth it if you're using them a lot, clearly. I didn't know Jen's in the chat. Hey Jen, I think she said Output Exhale. So she said she loves it too. So I'm guessing she's subscribed. They have raised a ton of money as well, so they're going to be around for a while. Tony's saying, yeah, I'd never use it for a whole song, but to fill stuff in, absolutely. So that's cool. Yeah. Cool. So there you go.
Great information there for everybody to listen to, especially coming around, new guys like me, haven't been into doing the music for very long. Like, for instance, I started off back in the day with an MC303, and I did that for a while, and I built my studio up and stuff. But back in the 90s, we didn't have much to go on but the underground scenes to go off of other people, to conglomerate with a group of people from your area and sit there and go over the stuff and then look outside the box and look further away. And that's what we did a lot back in the day. And you are just like so showing it to me, like, I want to be a part of your little studio. I want to walk in. I want to live there. It's just amazing. And like earlier today, I was listening to your music and I was going around and you were talking about the reggae music that you like too, and I wanted to show everybody this. I made this in thought of you, and I did this just before everything today, and I was like messing around, and it's kind of a little mix-up of this one pattern that I did before, but I'm not even going to try to
let's have a listen.
Just throw it all out. So I just have this running. I just wanted to do this little segment here because I want to keep it about your stuff here. So I wanted to give honor, props to you with this here, but okay. All right, here we go. That A chord. Get Rastafari, let's go. Oops. Okay.
Awesome.
So I have my own issues, disabilities with things. So the piano is great for me, and I have to keep working that. The arthritis and stuff. It's pretty.
Oh man, that sucks.
It is making things difficult. So for me to do as much as I can do.
Oh man, I'm so sorry. Yeah, like I was saying earlier, you take for granted when you can play an instrument, and just because if I couldn't hit a keyboard like that, it would just be you get by.
The
clearly,
skank
but
on just the reggae alone is just a simple on that downbeat when you're coming back in that measure. It's on that 3 and
yeah.
So it just does that. You can't transpose, you can't change key, you can't do anything else, because otherwise you start drifting off into a blues. And it right here, it's just boom. I did this. I did reggae stuff a little bit. I got to go play around, and we formed a small band. It was this guy named Yamas and a guitarist, George Wooten, and we got together and got to play in a couple clubs. And whenever I showed up with my electronic stuff, and I had some pretty vintage keyboard stuff, so I used an old Yamaha CS1X, and then I had a couple presets programmed with a delay over it, and I would just trigger it, and it was automatic, the right delay for each song. So I just knew my little patterns, and I just had little notes, and I just chose to do different ones. Okay, that's all I'm gonna do right here.
Oh, that's so cool.
Just sit here and just skank along the whole time.
It is that.
And it's a brilliant feeling that comes around you when you're collaborating like that with other people, and then everyone's just standing around and they're like coming.
There's something about it's a difference between crowds when they're clapping on the beat and they're clapping on the offbeat, you know. And it is a very British, I suppose, fundamentally a kind of white thing where if you know we'll all clap along, dung dung da dung da dung da dung, and everyone else really wants you to go dung dung da dung da dung da dung, and it's that kind of gently.
There it is.
That sort of skank sound is just
I can feel it coming from all the way over there. It almost made me want to start singing there on top of it. I was like, yeah.
I worked with this Motown guy, a Motown staff writer called Eric, who was the first band I was in, and we were signed to Warner's. He was just amazing frontman, amazing songwriter. But he was a keyboard player. He was literally had been a staff writer at Motown, working with all these crazy cool people, and he taught me kind of. Well, to be honest, I think, you know, he would just say, "Hey, Dominic, come and play this," and he'd just go, and I'd be like, "Okay, right, okay," and I'd practice, and I'd get it. And he was probably taking the mickey a little bit at the time, but he really pushed me, and I really wanted to be able to do it, you know. And he was a prodigy keyboard player. So it learned a lot, and it was very much that kind of, you know, the groove. And
any little tricks you would like to share for us here to learn little keyboard? Anything you would like to? So we'll call it the wiggly way. That's.
I'll have to think. I'll have to do a show on it because, honestly, it was just we had a bass player and a drummer who were. It's the first time I've seen a proper rhythm section where they're telepathic, and literally, I mean, I was so far out of my league. I was like 19, 20 years old. I looked pretty good, and I used to be at the front on a big stack of keyboards, and I clearly wasn't the best musician in the band, but I was able to kind of hold it. But these guys were just incredible, and I used to watch the bass player and the drummer, and they'd just be staring at each other, and they, you know, you do that, and they would both move together, and they'd be an extra beat in there, and that taught me what the you know, what that kind of thing was. You don't have to be like that to be a musician, to make great tunes or whatever, but it's amazing when you see it in terms of a live band with the telepathy that's going on, and you're just locked. Do you know what I mean? When you've been playing with someone like that for a long time. It's like having a brother.
This applies in other places in life too as well, even in nice military with a squad and soldiers.
Yeah.
You will all start to sync. You start living together. You all know each other's movements,
right?
What you're going to do, how you're going to react, and this is a great thing. Music touches so many aspects of every part of our lives, and you, sir, have done a great job with your music.
You're so kind.
You touched everybody's lives with it. It really was a great piece. I can't wait to hear what you're going to do further with it.
Nor can I.
I'm amazing. And now, can you tell us a little more about the lyrics and how that came to
you?
Was that a ad lib on spot?
Yes.
Or did you have some
Let me have a look. I was just going to. I'm going to post a link to the StreamYard in case anyone wants to jump in on the YouTube side. We did this on Sunday. So if anyone does want to pop in and say hello, you're very welcome, particularly if Dean's out there or Tony's out there, you want to talk about output or whatever. So this bit in the center, let's find it for you. Oh, here's the bit that's very much like Massive Attack. Tried to kind of get away from it, but the bass line just fitted really well. I don't think this has got the lyrics on.
It feels so familiar. It's Massive Attack. I just couldn't put my finger on it until today. I have to own my issue there. I didn't realize it was Massive Attack, but I know I've heard it somewhere before, and I was like, I can recognize it there, and I'm sure other people
it's
had
protection.
the same feeling about it too.
It's protection, influenced by protection. No worries, Dean, if you can't join. Let me see if I can find a version of this that
that would be
the
great to
audio,
have
because
Dean
I thought.
here.
Yeah, no, he's not ready. If anyone does want to jump in and join, there's a link, a StreamYard link I've just posted in YouTube, and Tony's at work. You don't jump straight in, but you're very welcome if you want to come and join in the chat, ask any questions or say hello, give any insight you want. You're very, very welcome, but no problem if not. Okay, I'm going to try and find a version of this where I saved it with my vocal on it, which could be interesting because I haven't listened to that back for a while. Just hold on. Music, whoops. You get to see my super interesting. Oh no, you don't get to see my super interesting files. Hang on, let me just go and see what's going on. Clownfest 6.
A mediocre artist borrows ideas and a great artist steals them. Well, you know what? I'm sorry, but all artists, we all search and we all find and we take from each other and we grow and we push ourselves. So I don't think there's any gray area like that, you know, mediocre or great. I think we are all on the same path and have the potential to go as far as we will take it and push ourselves and go past our barriers that we each have. And that's what, you know, I've grown up around music since I was 8 years old, and it's a part of my life. No matter what I do, I can't escape it. I can't keep it. Even if I was deployed in Iraq, it didn't matter. If I was in Egypt, it didn't matter. I always found a way. And it's really great when we have great music like this coming from just talented musicians like yourself, an artist. You are truly an artist, Mr. Wiggly, and you should definitely promote that, do more. I can't wait.
Well, you're very kind. Thank you. There's a lot of talent actually out in the
there is
in the chat.
The whole crew, everybody. Yes, definitely. I mean, I feel like I'm the little guy at the very bottom here, and I'm looking on.
No, not at all. I mean, bear in mind, I've been doing this for a long time, and my career as a pro is kind of you know, originally has kind of moved on anyway. So I'm doing different stuff now. It's nice to be still involved in making plugins and that kind of stuff, though, which is really good.
And I can't wait to find out what's going to happen with the new thing that we've talked about.
Yeah, although that's
I don't want to spill. I don't want to spill that. So,
it won't be a secret for long. Oh, here we go. I think I found it. All right, so let me just clear some stuff on my other screen so I can see what's going on here. Okay, so this is the middle of the tune, and these two tracks at the top here are me playing live on the gig. So I kind of woke up for that bit. So it's my vocal. So it's my vocal. I don't know what this is going to sound like. I hope it sounds all right. Hey.
Okay, I see what you did there. Oh.
I've post-processed the vocal with some Melodyne afterwards, just because I was thinking about putting it out at some stage, but it didn't do too much.
Well, the neighborhood's gone downhill since I moved here. All my people have left and moved away. So there's no more heroes and there's no more drugs to take here. No more dealers, now the lost one left today. So I'm gone.
So it's a silly song about the fact that I've moved to a neighborhood and there's no drug dealers and no parties, so I'm going to leave the neighborhood. So it's kind of reverse psychology. And
it's interesting to me. It says like I've come back, and all my friends are gone, and I'm still here, and it's almost like what's happening now. And I was just seeing an old friend of mine the other day, and he's like, "Well, they're building a sewage plant in this neighborhood, and it's running right through his backyard of his acres of property." So I'm like, "Well, there goes the neighborhood," And I was sitting there just thinking of you at that time in this song, and it resonates. That whole segment right there is just absolutely brilliant.
Thanks.
It's simple, it's concise, to the point, but it just resonates so well with the words there. So did you come up with that on the spot? Or?
Yeah. Sometimes it happens, not often. But I was stuck for the middle section, and without the piano and my vocal over the top, I recorded these R's, which are just me tracked singing R's.
Really?
And there's 6 tracks of me. So let's have a look.
That's the pre-recorded stuff that you had there, so that way you got your tone when you
Exactly.
were ready to sing.
So I thought what I should try and do is build up some kind of different sound in there. So I might as well sing it or whatever. So there's and there's another one. And so these 2 are panned left and right a little bit. And then above them is another 2 singing the next chord up. And then
That's
I think
what I need to do
another
is I need
one.
to give myself little key notes like that.
So in fact, there's 4 in the lower ones, and there's 2 on the top.
You develop it to your ear, so that way you can come out.
Yeah, and it's the same trick that you do if you were recording guitars. You'd record them twice, and you'd pan them. If you look at the pan position of these 4, I'm just trying to select them. They're all singing the same notes, but they're not copies. Never just copy and pan them. Otherwise, you'll just end up with something that's twice as loud. I've literally sung it 4 times, and the way I've sung it 4 times is I've run it on a loop. And I've just gone until I found 4 that I like, and I've cut them out. And then I've panned
points of the stereo field where you're setting
exactly. So I've panned 1 hard left, 1 hard right, 1 a little left, and 1 a little right. So suddenly you've got 4 of me around your head, man. And then the top 2, because I probably should have done 4 on the top as well, but I obviously didn't for some reason, probably running out of time. I've just panned them slightly to the left and slightly to the right. In Logic, you can group things like this into one group just to make them easier to look after, so I can hide them away. But all that is just graphic. It doesn't do anything to the sound.
Okay.
So together, and I thought, okay, well that sounds pretty good. I put it together with the track. I can turn it up. And then you got it basically. So that made everything sound a bit more interesting. And then what I was going to do was play a solo over the top. All right, so I wasn't going to sing anything. I was just going to busk some piano over the top, and that was it really.
The busking was beautiful. It was the icing on top. It was great. I loved it.
I still busked it, but as I was working out some stuff to busk, the tune kind of came into my head. And it really was just the verse tune. So the I'm Gone chorusy bit is just like a throwaway line, but these kind of verse bits just popped into my head. So
now there's no more parties, no techno playing through the night time, 'cause Tony's got a tag and his deck's got locked away. Now there's no more damage with my windscreen smashed to pieces. Now the vicar's coming round and the kids are all out to play. So I'm gone.
So tell me about that a little bit. Did you have something bad happen in the neighborhood there to you that you're referring to? Did you get robbed? Or?
No, it's just like I was thinking. We live in a really nice. We're very blessed. We live in a lovely place here, and it's very safe and it's very neighbourly. And then I think I was chatting to a few people on Facebook, and they'd just gone off to some techno party somewhere, and someone was moaning where I used to live. I still follow a Facebook group there, and it's a big town, and they were saying, oh, there's a party going on next door, and it's really loud. And some of the other neighbours were saying, I love it. It's Saturday night. It's 9 o'clock. What are you moaning about? It's great music, wind it in kind of thing. And I was just thinking, do you know what? I'd much prefer to live in an environment of positivity. Yes, if you got kids and stuff and it's noisy, that's not a great environment to be. But the flip side is almost as bad. So I was thinking about, the neighbourhood's gone downhill, but wouldn't it be funny if you flip it on its head and say, well, the neighbourhood's gone downhill because everyone's really like, there's no parties, there's nothing anymore.
Yeah, that's
so it's the reverse.
Going downhill. And it is totally.
So that's why. So I wrote some lyrics in there's a notebook here in Logic. You can see. Oh, well, there you go. My God, it started off with something about goodbye to the nighttime. We met for the first time. Let's fade away. So I don't know what tune that was, but that was the first incarnation. And then that's the lyrics I usually write, to be honest. They're terrible. They're like schoolboy kind of, oh, she left me kind of lyrics. And then this bit, here you go.
I think it's terrible at all.
It's not great, to be honest. It's not, but this bit, these bits are much better. So obviously, I got this neighbourhood's gone downhill.
It's all the work, and once you're done, you're not finished with it. You're showing
exactly.
So I mean, that is brilliant, even just to show that much. But it is still. I can hardly see it right here, but I can got some of the words.
I don't know if it'll.
It's okay. It's okay though. I would love to, see what you do with this and go further with it.
Yeah, well, you can see the thought process. So I was obviously that something like goodbye to the probably goodbye. Da, 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 da. It was probably something like that, and then I got the verse with the neighbourhood's gone downhill since I moved there.
This is great to see because sometimes I've sat there and tried to write something out, and then I would think to myself, well, I've never really ever seen somebody else or they write it out.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just see how it goes with myself, and then it kind of looks like that too, and it's just coming out after writing it. So,
yeah,
it looks like we all follow the same path. We just don't know it,
I've got Tony's got an Asbo down here. There's a lyric in there that I really like, which is no more parties, no techno playing through the night time because Tony's got a tag and his decks get locked away. Over here, if you get arrested and you don't go to prison, you're given a tag around your leg. I don't know if it's the same thing happens in the US. You get tagged. So they can monitor. You're on a curfew. So the tag monitors you that you're at home.
Give an ankle brace.
Yeah, there you go. We call it a tag. And I just thought that was kind of a cool cool lyric.
Okay.
So I obviously wrote that down there. All the kids have moved out. I mean, that's it. So I tend to, if I'm trying to write lyrics, and to be honest, the songs that have been most successful I've co-written lyrics or I've done mainly the music. I tend to write with other people quite a lot and I'm really good at tunes, but not so much the words, but they're not too bad unless I get a moment of inspiration and suddenly it all comes out. So it's important to know what you're best at as well and try and work with people who can bring something else to the party and recognise what your limitations are. But yeah, I tend to write and make up words. And just it's very important that they fit the tune, they flow. If the words are only bad when they stick out and people go, oh, that's a bit weird. So for example, if you think of classic songs that you really like with words, with lyrics, generally the title will flow the way you would normally say it. So I don't know, just think of some old stuff. Goodbye Yellow Brick Road for Elton John, right?
Okay.
That's how you goodbye Yellow Brick Road, goodbye Yellow Brick Road. You're saying it you're singing in exactly the same rhythm that you would say it.
Oh,
Culture
okay,
Club.
okay.
Do you really want to hurt me?
And
yeah.
The pause.
You're not going goodbye Yellow Brick Road because it doesn't work. And when you're trying to force words into a rhythm that is not comfortable to say, then it doesn't work as well. And there's lots of exceptions to this rule, but in general, Life on Mars, David Bowie, I mean, almost everything that Elvis ever sung, the lyric and the title will flow in the same way that you would normally say it. And that's really, to me, that's a really, really, really important method of writing kind of lyrics. I was trying to work out rules for hit songs and trying to spot commonality between them. and that was one of them. It was like you never kind of crowbar a lyric to fit a rhythm. And the tune, it's true for the tune as well. Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. It's up at the front and down at the bottom. You know, if I had a whole list of songs, we could go through them in a book, and I'm sure a lot of them would be like that. But they're easy and natural to say, and therefore they're easy and natural to sing as well. So if I'm playing, I'll be like, I haven't got my piano stuff going on. Hang on. Give me a second.
No, that's fine. While you're doing that, lyrics are a new thing for me as well. It's something. It was always keys. It started with keys for me, keyboard. Because I saw my grandparents, my family sitting there, and they had a baby grand piano, a full-size concert organ, violins, and everything. And they'd all sit there and start jamming out, and I'd just be this 5-6-year-old kid looking at it and be amazed to see all this happening. So I would go over there, and they taught me, how to start playing, and I just started playing the piano from right there. And I started reading all their little books and going from there. But it always stayed to that point. I never went to singing because I left that to all my grandmother. She had the really opera voice, the opera female voice, and I was like, oh, I can't do that, But
I hear a dog. I can hear a dog. Yeah, so I don't know if I'm just, I'll be anything to make a kind of rhythm going. And then you replace the with the lyrics, and that's the hard bit. But you can find someone who's good at lyrics to replace the da ba da ba da. I've always really liked the Elton John. Not that he's a be all and end all, but the fact that he never ever wrote lyrics. And people in the music industry today, it's gone from being a good singer to doing absolutely everything, being the artist who writes the songs, writes the lyrics, and they might bring producers in, they might bring people to work with them from time to time, but generally the artist is expected to write the songs as well. And it doesn't have to be like that. If you can find a writing partner, all of the big a lot of the big bands, a lot of the big writers that tend to work with a team or with one person, like Lennon McCartney type approach, who keeps everyone on their toes, And I've never written tunes to lyrics that anyone's ever sent me before, but I'm sure it would be a wicked thing to do. I've written a lot with other people where I've sat there and gone, what about this key change? Da 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 da. Right, what are we going to do with that? And needed someone else to come back in with the lyrics, Anyway,
you can go that way too.
You go everywhere, But unless you've got the right words. I can't write. And literally, my words are "good night to the night time, hello to the day." That was the first words I wrote down.
Wanting to do that, and that's good to do. That's good to know that. Hey, keep doing that. That's the right thing to do. Anybody out there, if you're not sure, now you know for sure.
That's the trick, really. So yeah, there you go. And then when we get to the end of that bit, I think we're back into the. Let me just see what happens. I think you're back into the normal one.
Synth sound, is that what that blue
this one
yes,
it's called Pulsar and it's Omnisphere. How fantastic is that? I just looked at it, it's still Omnisphere, and
it's another simple little pattern again.
Yeah, these are really effective, really effective. So let me just solo it again, see what's going on. Hang on. I love stuff like
everything.
This.
Oh yeah, it was.
It's
so we have like a flanger at the top. We have some effects going. It's got some movement.
That's all built into Omnisphere. So, and this is live. I didn't even bother recording this or anything. So it was probably a late edition. All I did was I put an LFO tool on it.
Oh, okay.
To get it out the way of the drums. Normally I do sidechain, but let's just see what it does. Oh, okay, so the whole sound is made out of LFO tools. So the sound that comes out of Omnisphere sounds like this.
Sweet, I love LFOs. It's a key way of getting certain things out of Digital.
Yeah.
Doing stuff with like the kick to get that rumble. I'm still tweaking
exactly.
It
so LFO tool is built into Ableton, I'm sure. If it isn't, it's... you can do it again with various things, but it's part of the Serum family, I think. It comes from Xfer Records, who makes Serum, LFO tool. And literally what you do is you draw in an LFO or a pulsing thing, and it will turn the volume up and down. So it's almost like automating the volume. So here, every beat, I've got it to go. So I've got it to go bong and then a secondary bong. But if I turn that down to the bottom, it sounds like that, which is too yucky. So there you go. So I've turned literally, and there is no echo, no reverb, no compression, nothing else on that sound. I've just got it balanced really nicely in the track, and I've removed the bit out of it that I didn't want by literally just turning it down. So you've gone from sorry, which obviously is not going to sound good. It's really messy.
Even with the sample, it's.
And then if you bang it, suddenly, gone. So it's all those kind of tricks. I think you kind of find, like I was saying at the very start, there's very, very little in the way of compression, stuff like that. I mean, on my voice and on some of the synths, I've got sends going on bus 6 and bus 1. So
would you say this is a standard approach you would use generally?
Recently,
on most of your stuff? Okay.
Yeah, get the sounds right and then worry about it. And don't fix the sounds in the mix. Get the sounds absolutely right the first place. So I haven't even used the Percussion on this. I've just got Verb Suite, which is a Slate reverb. You can use Valhalla or whatever, but this is a copy of the old lexicons that we used to use back in the day. And it's just nice for vocals. And on this one, what have I got? I've got stereo delay. I've got the Logic standard left-right stereo delay. But obviously some of the sounds have got some delays on there. But I've gone from doing these massive productions where it's just kind of like, oh yeah, I'm going to have 7 different reverb sends and I'm going to place this perfectly, to just going, right, hang on a minute. Do you know what? That sound doesn't work quite right there. So let's get that right. There's this brilliant comment from Mark Hollis of Talk. Let me just put ourselves back on the screen a second. I'll go and find it because it sums up the new approach. Hold on a second. Talk amongst yourselves. Play your tune or something.
Intermission. There's that nice fire starter little.
That's great.
Just kind of mixed that in there with the reggae too. I was like, yeah, I did that on the A4 the other day, and I was like, man, I really wanted to do something kind of like fire starter-ish. And I had to play it and then sit down in front of the A4 and like, okay, tune the oscillators. Okay, how am I gonna? Okay, this. Okay, and I would get inch by inch, a little part of it, and then it would just keep flowing along. And the flow, it just made it so well. It's laid out so well on here. I'm so glad I have the A4.
Yeah. It looks like
it
an
is
amazing,
brilliant.
Sounds so
piece
good.
of kit. It's amazing.
All right, Mark Hollis said, before you play 2 notes, learn how to play 1 note, and don't play 1 note unless you've got a reason to play it. And that is just where I'm at in a nutshell. Mark Hollis was a singer with Talk, and learn how, before you play 2 notes, just play the 1 note. Learn how to play 1 note, and don't play 1 note unless you've got a reason to play it. And that accounts for sounds and stuff as well.
Emotion, feeling, point of bearing.
Exactly.
Right, don't just go out there and just dong.
Exactly. So, I mean, that dong, 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 dong sound is a good example. It's like it didn't need effects. It needed over half the sound to be removed completely. And then suddenly it didn't need everything. And if you think about it, like, I was thinking about kick drums, Dead Mouse kick drums, for example. We were talking about it quite recently. They're really short. And if you've got, say, let's think of 120 BPM because the maths is pretty simple. A beat at 120 BPM is half a second long. So that's 500 milliseconds. So most kick drums in techno generally are longer than 500 milliseconds anyway, or at least they'll fill the beat because of the kick rumble and all the rest of it, which is absolutely fine. But there's 0 room for any bass that comes in there, which is absolutely fine because generally you don't get a pumping bass going on techno either. So the kick drum and the rumble is giving you that feel. But if you then move to something where you do want to have a bit of a bass in there and you apply the same principles because that's what you're used to doing, you get a hell of a mess going on there. So he's cutting his kick drums, for example, and many other people are cutting their kick drums down to 200 milliseconds or 250, And then you've got 250 milliseconds of silence left in your beat that you can put anything there. So you don't have to worry about making things super loud, because your kick and your bass can be the loudest thing ever in the whole world simply by normalizing the track, because that's the only two things that are going on, you know. And you're making space is almost as important. So removing that sound out of that bass is actually really key from something that sounded like, oh, it sort of gives me the right emotion, but it's messy, to, man, that just sits suddenly without any FX. And it's those kind of things. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm by no means a great mixer at all. I'm good, but you know, if you look at like Yoad Nevo on Sonic State, I think he's probably one of the greatest mixers in the world at the moment. And have a look at his. There was a Sonic State album that came out called Sonic 1. And they did some videos to support it. And I
love Sonic State and all
the
videos they do over there too.
There's a video from Yoad saying how he made this song, and the stuff he does. Honestly, I learnt more from that than anything. But he is really cool. But there are just simple tricks which are just like, is this sound really the right sound? You know. And of course, it helps that I've got nice monitoring, and you know, I can hear things nice and clearly, so I know whether it works or it doesn't. But in general, the trick is never to add more, or don't go, is that sound right? I'll layer something else on top of it. You know, just remove stuff from it or find a better source sound. Oh, look, we've got some spam in the chat. Look at that.
Yeah, like that? Dean says there, don't fix it in the mix, get it right now.
Exactly that. So we'll kick that person out if I think he's still around. But yeah, so I think that's it. What did I end up?
So you just basically broke it down and just started pulling back pieces and just let it flow downward.
Yeah, and then I ended up on the city street again.
So that brings it all the way around and completes the song, because you referenced the intro.
Exactly. So I would like to kind of pull this together and get it out properly on a label or just on Bandcamp or something, because I think it warrants. Take out the middle section. The middle section is a kind of section on its own, which is great. That could turn into something else. But the whole section of the more kind of groovy bit of the whole thing.
I probably didn't do it enough justice or criticize enough or break it down, but you've really nailed it on the whole thing, because I mean, the song speaks for itself for everybody, and everybody here, you know, they completely agree you should publish this out and keep doing this. This is absolutely what we want, and we want more Mr. Wiggly.
Well, I'm very happy to do these kind of streams as well. You know, if you want to,
love the quizzes from Lula Bay and everything. Yes, and Inky, thank you for moderating and joining us today.
Oh, Inky, I'll tell you what. Sorry, it's a Twitch. It's a Twitch, man. That's all right. Oh, we don't care about Twitch. It's probably the only people watching us on Twitch. Yeah, don't worry, Inky. It's okay. There's someone that's popped up in a Twitch. To be honest, I don't know why I even stream this stuff to Twitch, but you never know. People do find us occasionally on there, but I don't care about the spam over there. Don't panic, Inky. It's all good. It's all good. Yeah. So I think that's it. But if this works as a kind of idea every now and then, I'm very happy to come and chat to you about tunes or production or break songs down, or maybe how do you make a sound like this kind of stuff, you know, or how do you make a kick rumble, or all that kind of things. If it's of interest, I mean, I think the thing to do is just to pop us a mail or let us know, or pop in the chat and tell us. But
so there's that fire starter reference I was talking about.
Oh yeah, right. Actually, if you listen to Firestarter, you realise there's not a lot going on in that tune either. It sounds massive.
It's amazing. But it's happening in 4 tracks right here. I can almost cover the third of the whole track, and just on this.
You don't need anything else, because it's filled the whole of that stuff going on.
And then it's the kick and snare is just.
Yeah, if you check Firestarter, listen to the loop that they're using. There's very, very, very little going on. It's much more empty than you remember it. It's like getting someone to draw a picture of something, a picture that they've seen, if you see what I mean. It'll look very different. If I said to you, right, describe what's going on Firestarter, you go, oh, there's this massive drum that goes... And there's not. There's a big cymbal splash on the downbeat, and the kick goes...
And the swells that are coming, and the timing of them too with the swing is so important because you can't.
Very clever boy. He's a very clever boy.
I'm learning. It's so interesting to sit there and play, and when you have it in front of you, and being able to listen to something and go, okay, how did he break this down? How can I do this here?
Yeah,
with what I have.
Yeah,
and that is the key thing for all of us, and everybody here is just nailed it in the whole group. It's just impressive, the whole clown army, and how everybody comes together and talks about things and do stuff just like this, and it's so heartwarming. It brings life. It brings fulfillment.
It's a really positive environment, isn't it? I think, people can say, actually, I don't like that. It's very rare, but, say, that's not my thing. But no one will ever turn around and say, do you know what? That's absolute rubbish. You're useless. It's completely not like that. Because that doesn't help, does it? And a lot of it's down to Mark. Yes, Piero. Thank you very much indeed. Thank
you, Mark Gardner. Love you.
No worries. Right, I think we better knock this one on the head. So we've got just enough time for everyone to get prepared for the stream through from Hardware Jams, of which we've mentioned it. You're a part of Hardware Jams, right? You're a mod over there.
Yes,
Tell us about Hardware Jams, because there might be some people in the chat who aren't aware of it.
Yes, Hardware Jams is a place where musicians come together that love to jam out on our synthesizers and keyboards and share it with others. We pride ourselves mostly for doing this in the old school way without using DAWs, because prior to DAWs, we had to do it this way with the boxes. So styles of music were generated because of simple boxes. Let's say, for instance, the ER1 and the EA1, which led to red and blue boxing style of music in Detroit and other areas. So you have to remember the roots of where a lot of things come from. So this is what the group is about, and we like to enjoy that and move forward and keep people positive. Exactly what Mark Gardner's done. And he's done that with the URL and Clown Army, and he's the Clown Father, and he's really bringing us all together and pushing us and saying, hey, do this, do that, but this is great. I like this. And we're all following along and pushing this out. So I'm very thankful for everybody here, especially you. I can't thank you enough for this time on here. I would love to be able to go further and talk some more. So if you would like to go more Mr. Wiggly Talks with Tin Miller, let's do that.
Totally.
We'll
love to.
Go over some of these secret weapons. Maybe one day we'll get a chance to be able to talk about that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love the Clown Father. I've never heard that one before. The Clown Father, yes. No, I'd love to do it again. So literally, just get in touch, leave a message under the stream or whatever you fancy doing. I'll put up a link under the stream to the original version of this set. I'm glad so many positive comments in the chat. It's really, really kind of you. Thank you. Hopefully there's a bit of learning in there, some insight into the way I work, but I'd love to know how you work too. So just stay with it. And what you're saying there, link for this other jam show. Yes, indeed. Can someone paste the link to the Hardware Jams? If I can find it. That is a very, very good point. Hardware Jams are absolutely brilliant. So every week they have a weekend Hardware Jam session, which is this week is brilliant because it's Inky's Dream. So Inky has published her dream, which is very Inky.
In the private chat, and then
and I can pop it out there. And it's quite detailed. So everyone's been jamming based on the inspiration from Inky's Dream, and the playthrough is a brilliant, laid-back, lovely show where we listen to everyone's jams that come through it and learn a lot and chat. And a lot of the people that follow this show and Sonic State and Unsigned Review Live and Clownfest and all the rest of it are there. So here is the Facebook group for Hardware Jams coming up at you into YouTube, and if you pop there it'll say it's going live and you'll be able to follow it. Inky's just done it as well, so 9:30 there's a direct link to the stream, so that's really cool. Thanks, Inky.
Yeah, so we've always this is a typical thing we do with us moderators. We're always following up on each other over there in the hardware
shit,
jams.
yeah, absolutely. So grab that. Check out the Facebook.
We're well greased over there, and it's running great, and the community just keeps growing. We're well over 5K, I think, last time.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, which is flipping epic. Absolutely marvellous. And I know how much work is involved as well. So, because I was talking to Inky over the weekend when she was on
Andrew
on
Coogan
Cool.
is the founder and father to the Hardware Jams group.
Brilliant.
And he has just brilliantly put it together and set the rules and say, hey, just do it like this and blah, 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 any questions we have, he's got it the right, we really owe it all to him. He's really guided us all and get us going.
Huge round of applause to him. All right, listen, everyone in the chat, thank you so much once again for being there. Click a like if you haven't, and you did like it. That would be really appreciated. We've just been accepted, I think, as YouTube partners, which is brilliant because it only took 20 shows. So that's really, really cool. Don't know what quite that means, but I think it means I get about $1 for every 10,000 views or something, which would be absolutely brilliant because it will pay for Lula May's pencil cases and all the rest of it, which is cool. But anyway, obviously we're doing something right. Thanks again, Tim. You've been absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for being with us. I really enjoyed those questions. I talked far too much. I should have done a bit more listening, but honestly, it was
you did
really
great.
good.
Perfect.
Thank you. Really good to have you aboard. I look forward to the next one. If anyone's got any ideas what you want us to talk about, love to do it again. And if anyone else wants to come on and just chat and do stuff in the week, I'm very, very happy to have you around. Like I say, it's really easy just to, with no pressure of quizzes and guests, if you see what I mean, and doing a show rather than just chatting about stuff. It's really, really relaxing, actually. I loved it. So really cool. Okay, thanks again. Go watch Hardware Jams in half an hour. You've got time to have a shower and have something to eat. And we will see you all again on Sunday for the Sunday stream. And I'll tell you about the guests. We'll publish the guests soon. Other than that, take care. Thanks very much. Bye for now, guys. Really, really cool.
Bye.
Urbanist connect so with the herb pipe. Link up the harmonize, left the termite. But beyond obsolete blessings are birthright. To live a life which a lot for me no side worldwide. Cosmic love energy I go herbicide free organically. Me say worthwhile. Watch the way one of you take term points in terms of definitions and some termites. Yes, I check the eye. One side is defined by one side the other. I.e. I am an ideas man. I assign too much of the qualities of my guy. Who's free if I'm talking like there's two of me? One is a construct, one is a creativity. The supreme one, all encompassing information in and of itself, most definitely. Another life infinitely, most life infinitely. Beyond the scripture, niceness can be. Blessed be. I tune you all, Mr. Pick up a being, that's the infinity, yes.